That's Dre's tutoring. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We'll be going over alkanes, and I hope you guys are not as scared as I was when I first learned about some organic chemistry, because when I was looking up at that board, I did not know what I was looking at, and I was completely jealous of looking at little Susie get her A+ in the class, as well as going up to the board during SI sessions and being able to draw out all these cool structures and knowing what they are. I was completely lost. It took me hours to finally understand this, so I'm going to help you guys out, and hopefully you guys can be like little Susie. Did I say her name was Susie? Whatever her name was, be as great as she was. So, what are alkanes? Alkanes are a class of hydrocarbons in which atoms are connected only by a single bond. So you can see down here to our left, this is a pretty common image that you guys will see in your textbooks if you guys actually buy them, of different molecules. Okay, so we can see that what they all have in common is they have hydrogens and carbons all over, which are very important in organic chemistry because, as we know, these are organic compounds and they are a part of our sponge family. And if you guys haven't seen my other videos, I may have talked about sponge, I may have not, but that is sulfur, phosphorus, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and hydrogen are organic molecules. So again, in organic chemistry and in chemistry in general, we have alkanes, which are composed of hydrogen and carbons. Another pretty cool thing about these guys is that they are connected by a single bond. So let's go ahead and mark this up. To be considered an alkane, you'll have carbons, hydrogens, and then a single bond. And that's how we can go ahead and tattletale and say, yo, you're an alkane, right? You can easily snitch or call one out easily. So another important thing, oops, I said this already, I jumped ahead. It is a compound consisting of entirely carbon and hydrogens. Important, entirely, right? Now we'll get into some other stuff later, talk about substituents and other things attached to it. But for now, let's start with the basics here, because I'm trying to get you like little Susie, right? That has the A+ in the class and was able to go up the board and, draw out this like she studied for 10 hours. So again, alkanes, hydrogen, carbons entirely, and you have that single bond there. So another important thing I want to talk about are the different ways that alkanes can be expressed, because guess what? Chemistry is never just this easy. It doesn't stop there. They're always going to have different ways of showing you these alkanes. So first you have the name, you have the formula, you have the condensed formula, and then you have the structural formula. So before I get into these different ways that alkanes are expressed, I highly recommend that you guys remember these like crazy. So we have methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, hexane, heptane, octane, nonane, decane, and it goes on and on and on. As you guys see, it's a numbering system. So I call this carbon counting. So for example, methane has one carbon. Therefore, it's methane. So if you see one carbon, it is methane. So think of methane as me, right? Me, and it's singular, so it's one. You have ethane, it has two carbons. You see? Two carbons. You have propane, C3, three carbons. Butane, four carbons. And you guys can kind of see the trick here. I think that pentane and down is probably the easiest to remember, because pentagon meaning 5, hexane, hexagon meaning 6, heptane meaning 7, and so on and so forth, and then deca with 10. So I really think maybe some people may get confused at the methane, ethane, propane, and I did not forget about you, butane, probably these four. So I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and memorize this, because it'll be very important when we talk about substituents and further going how to carbon count. So let me get into some of the different ways again. So alkanes can be structural. So when we talk about structural, we're talking about these guys down, right? You'll see the carbon, you'll see the hydrogen, and then you'll see the single bond, this structure, right? Then you have the condensed. So this would be the condensed here. So typically you'll see something like CH2 connected to CH or something like that, right? That would be considered the condensed formula. Lastly, you have the skeletal. Oh boy, this is where it really gets people because it just looks like a line or a stick. It looks like you're just drawing stuff out. So here's a better example so you guys can get an idea. You have the molecular formula. You have the Lewis structure, which again is also just the structural, right? You have the condensed structure. And then you have the one that scares people, the skeletal structure. It's like, what is that? Whoa, what is that for real? I don't know what that was. That was my pen. But what is this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? So what I shall do for you guys is to give you a quick tip. So anytime that you see a dead end like this, right? I call these dead ends. There will always really be a CH3 there, right? And again, I don't want to jump ahead, but there's something called substituents, and this is called a methyl group. But just for the sake of this video, for you guys that are just dying in organic chemistry, just remember this will be a CH3 right at the dead end. And then right at this apex here, right in this corner, we have two hydrogen twins. And remember, if you remember something basic from carbon in a regular chemistry class, we know that carbon can bond up to basically 4 different things, right? And funny enough, this is methane. But always think of it like that when you see this very scary drawn out line. Okay? So remember, I'll draw it one more time. Just remember that there's 2 hydrogens here. There's a CH3 there, CH3 there. So for the fun of it, what is this? Let's carbon count. At the middle, remember there's a carbon at that middle there. So if we carbon count, we have 1, 2, and then 3. So this would actually be propane, C3H8. And there's 8 hydrogen. So there's 3 carbons and then 8 hydrogens. We have 3 here, 3 here, that's 6, and then 2 here, that makes 8. Therefore, it is propane. All right, guys, I really want you guys to play this back until you're tired of my voice and says, DeAndre, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Because this is this is probably the most important part in starting out with naming. Lastly, we have cycloalkanes, and I promise to not keep this long, but I really care about your grades in organic chemistry and the start of this, so cycloalkanes. These are hydrocarbons that form cyclic structures. Chemists are fancy, they make things harder than what it is. Basically, these are carbons that connect to one another, forming a shape. It doesn't get more fancy than that, right? So you have cyclopropane, and remember, what is dead in these centers? What are at these apexes, I like to call them? What are in these corners? They're actually carbons. So we have 1 carbon here, 1 there, 1 there. So that is considered propane. But since this creates a shape, it is going to be called cyclopropane. So we literally took the carbon counting. We know that there's 3 carbons, and now it forms a shape. So it's cyclopropane. Let's look at this next one, cyclobutane. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 carbons. So we know it's butane. And this fancy boy created a shape on us. So it's cyclo. Put that together, we have cyclobutane. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, Five carbons. Fancy boy makes a shape. Cyclo. We add the cyclo with the pentane. We get cyclopentane. God, Sally or Susie, whatever her name we called her, is jealous now. This created a shape. Fancy. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons. So it's hexane. For the last time, we add this together and we get cyclohexane. Okay, so let's do a quick practice problem, just a few, and then we are done and you can go up to the board and draw like little Susie. So now, give the IUPAC name for this alkane. Now, if you guys are wondering what IUPAC name is, it's some long thing that's International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. It's a fancy name for saying, you know, it's a fancy way of naming a compound written out in like alphabetical order and things of that nature. It's basically saying name this alkane, right? So let's carbon count, guys. Let's carbon count this. So let's look for the carbons. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 carbons connected to each other by a single bond. So yes, this is an alkane. It's 5 carbons. So what is this called? This is called pentane. Because remember, if it has 5 carbons, it's pentane. And to even be, you know, make sure we're so sure, it has 5 carbons and it has 12 hydrogens. So we have 3 here, 2 here, that's 5, 2 here, 7, 2 again, 9, and then 3, that makes 12. So we have C5H12. So look, we have pentane, we know it's C5H12, and let's even do the structural one. Let's go even deeper. So there's 5 carbons, right? So we'll do, oops, dang, that was big. 1. Remember, this is, at the end, there's a CH3, so that's 1. 2, because remember, we have the hydrogen twins here, the carbon in the middle. 3, 4, 5, right? So we have 1 carbon, 2 carbon, 3 carbon, 4 carbon, and then 5. So these are 3 different ways we can, you know, spell it out, pentane. We can have the condensed C5H12, and then we can have the skeletal, okay? So how about this one down here? What would this be? This is fairly simple, right? Let's carbon count. We have 1, we have 2. So since there's 2 carbons and 6 hydrogens, we refer to our chart, but we shouldn't even have to refer to the chart because you guys already paused the video and memorized this. This will be ethane. So we can go ahead and write out ethane. So we can go ahead and put the spelling of it. We can also do the condensed formula, which will be C2H6. And then lastly, we can do our favorite, the skeletal, right? Look how easy this is. That's it. That is ethane. Because remember, CH3, CH3. And that is it, guys. You guys are experts. I really hope this helped out. This is very bare basics. I know the real chem nerds are like, DeAndre, this was too easy. This was too introductory. Okay, well, go take inorganic chemistry or something. Don't come to this video. I'm just kidding, guys. It'll be a great refresher. Great for people that are just getting in and they're completely confused with the sticks and the drawing and everything. Please, guys, please really pay attention to this and get familiar with the molecular, the structural, condensed, and the skeletal, because it'll take you a very long way, especially in organic chemistry too, and really understanding how to name things and things of that nature. It's important. It follows you. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.